I'm Fiona Goh, I'm the Prize Director of the SI Leeds Literary Prize, and I'm delighted to be able to welcome you to the 2022 SI Leeds Literary Prize Awards ceremony. It's been an extraordinary period for all of us since the last award in the autumn of 2020, when we quickly pivoted to online events. 2 years ago, we saw a brilliant response from our wonderful writers, but also from our incredible audiences, who were able to access our events more easily by going online. We hope this year's award ceremony is a similarly strong platform for our fantastic cohort of writers, so thank you for joining us, and please do share the link to this free event with friends and colleagues. For those of you who are new to the prize, it's a particular pleasure to welcome you to the 10th anniversary edition of this award, which celebrates unpublished fiction by Black and Asian women writers based in the UK. During the first decade of the prize, we've showcased and celebrated some incredibly talented writers, many of whom have gone to enjoy great success and high-profile careers. Prize alumni include winners Minoli Salgado, Masuda Snaith, Amita Murray, Shireen Tadros and Wenyan Liu, in addition to brilliant shortlisted writers and SI Reader's Choice winners. One of the things that makes the SI Leeds Literary Prize so unique is the way that our writers have gone on not only to develop successful careers in writing, but have also created a space and a pathway to support other writers coming through in the future. This is exemplified by the free bursaries for prize entrants offered by previous winners, and also by our writers such as Kit Duval, who won the SI Reader's Choice Award in 2014. Kit's first publishing advance enabled her to set up a creative writing bursary at Birkbeck for disadvantaged writers, and she's used her growing profile and influence to champion working-class creatives and writers from the margins. The sense of prize family is very strong and is nurtured by the Prize Plus programme of support, giving to an increasing range of writers in partnership with our fantastic, loyal partner organisations: Peepal Press, New Writing North, Arvon, the Literary Consultancy and Dyslexia. We're delighted to be hosted by our core partner, Ilkley Literature Festival, for today's prize award ceremony, and prize fees are supported by our founding partners, Sir Optimist International of Leeds. We must also thank our brilliant sponsors, the Opportunity Centre and Arts Council England's National Lottery Project Grants, who've supported every prize edition since our first in 2012.
Hello everyone, it's great to link up with you. It's hard to believe that it's a full 10 years since I won that first SI Leeds Literary Prize back in 2012. So much has happened since then, and I still remember the excitement at that first event and the thrill of meeting Margaret Busby and Bonnie Greer, who were the judges of the prize then. As a result of winning the prize, my novel A Little Dust on the Eyes was published by Peepal Press and launched 2 years later at an event run by SI Leeds at the London Literature Festival with an interview with Bernardine Evaristo. My book of short stories, Broken Jaw, was published in 2019 and was nominated for the Republic of Consciousness Prize and the Orwell Prize for Political Fiction. And earlier this year, 12 Cries from Home was published by Repeater Books. Basically, SI Leeds opened the door to all of this, and what had been a really private business of writing at home in the quiet became a really public one, and there's been no turning back. The prize is important in so many ways. For example, it's a critical intervention in an industry that still underrepresents minority women writers, and crucially, it mentors and supports the career development of women writers. So thanks again to the wonderful team at SI Leeds. Congratulations on reaching this important milestone, and wishing you many more decades of success.
My name's Caroline Harrison and I'm the Chief Executive of the Opportunity Centre. We're part of the Aspire IGEN group, and for many years now we have been really proud to sponsor these awards. I'd like to congratulate each and every person who made the shortlist, the long list, and even got as far as getting your book in, because it means a great deal to our community here in Bradford, where our head office is based, to see you guys doing so well. It's wonderful that the alumni continue to have so much success. It's wonderful that you come and see us here to inspire our learners, our clients, with your achievements, and to show them that it is absolutely possible for anyone to achieve their dreams when they put pen to paper, and they work hard. So best of luck to you all. See you soon.
Without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our head judge, Kadija George, who will tell you a little bit more about this year's prize entries.
My name is Kadija George Sesay, and I am chair of judges for this year's prize. There was a lot of serious writing going on in lockdown, we realised, because we had double the amount of entries in about half the submission time. People only had 2 weeks to submit this year, but we had loads of really, really good entries from a vast range of writing backgrounds. The result was that so many of them had a lot of promise, and that is one of the main aspects for this prize, is that we do look for promise. We look for promise more so than we look for polish. And we think this is an encouraging factor for people to feel that they can write a novel and submit it for a prize. There seem to be a lot of young adult submissions, which is really great, as we're hearing from voices of young people who may traditionally be silenced. So it was really good that we were hearing words and stories from younger writers, and also a range of genres, from speculative fiction, very experimental work. It was absolutely great. But this is also what made it very difficult for the judges, because the shortlist revealed such a breadth of talent and a wonderful range of voices on life and experience, some of which are contemporary today, very contemporary today. So people can relate to it, not just young people, not just young women, but issues, very many issues today that have been incorporated in the stories. So that made it very difficult for the judges, who all come from different areas of publishing, because there were different aspects that we liked and that we were fighting for. So narrowing it down to that shortlist was a very tough job. We finally did it. But we would really like to congratulate everybody who submitted. That's never an easy thing to do, to hand in your baby to let somebody else to read. To the long list people, wow, then you really made a big jump to get to that long list. So congratulations to all the long list. And then to the short lists, then you know that you were coming in as you're really up there. And some of the amazing things that you allowed us to read that were in detail and just offering us some experiences, some information that we may not have read about or heard about any other way. And then presented in the novel, it really makes us think about what is going on. So thank you for that challenge. It was great. So thank you very much. But now what we're going to do is we are going to listen to some of those, to the shortlisted entries.
Amalola wished that the sun were a little kind and not so audacious, and that her skin's pores did not seep out water, and sweat did not patch her cleavage. Standing at the roadside at New Lagos Road, cars honked, bare-chested young men, laced and preened, in the middle of the wide road, on the concrete lane divider, as though in an abdominal six-pack contest. A small towel, previously soaked in water, draped up across their chests or over their baseball caps, in an exhibitionism of bottled water, canned juice, recharge cards, shoes racks, and books. The brief early morning downpour cooled the temper of the humid air a little. Her phone screen showed 34 degrees. Every passing car added to the ocean of traffic, sometimes totally stagnated or moving at a snail's pace. Okada riders probed their commercial bikes in between the rows of traffic. Commuters stood singly and in groups by the roadside, the worries on their faces telling silent stories about how long it's going to take them to get to work this morning, how the bosses and lecturers would hear none of their coming late, how perhaps they should have come out early, but nothing could be compared to wrapping oneself in between sheets, especially with early morning rainfall spanking one's window in large pellets. This was Benin City, a city she had come to love despite its quirkiness and eccentricities, the city where she heard the most exasperating stories and laughed till her tummy raged with a gamut of emotions untold. It was the unmistakable flavor of spoken pidgin in this city, the ubiquitous plantain, the bus stops and areas and sceneries she knew as intimately as she knew the corners of her own name. Knowing Benin City was like scraping from a bottomless storage, every layer yielding a different knowledge each time. The only Nigerian city that had city in its name. The city where you could not get lost as long as you got to Ring Road, where you could get a bus going to Italy or to heaven. The joke about Benin City was that you could call the popular name Osaso a hit on Ring Road and everyone would look back. Now, Aralola was already running late for work on a Monday morning.
Colonel Johnston, a stout, crimson-faced man in a black dinner jacket with polished brass buttons, is stationed between two bay trees in the middle of the veranda. Wispy strands of whitish hair stripe his shiny pate. Like the earthenware pots either side of the doorway, he looks too heavy to move. He raises a glass of sherry. "You must be, the new girl Cameron Cuthbert said was joining the fold." "Yes, I'm Koliwe." She glances at the invitation card she has been clutching, the italicized font and thickly embossed border. She guesses she is just a blur mounting the steps to the Colonel's home, a haze of mosquitoes gossiping around her head. He gives her a particular sidelong glance. "Come meet my wife." His hand furtively strokes the smooth olive skin on Koliwe's shoulder. Human contact has been scarce in the 6 months since her father drowned, and the shock of the old man's touch sucks her breath away. The Colonel guides her into a roomy kitchen. The floor is tiled black and white in the stark contrast of a chessboard. "Darling, meet, Koliwe." She tilts up her chin defiantly. The Colonel's wife is quite the opposite of him. In an orange and brown floral print chiffon dress, she darts around freestanding units and worktops cluttered with sharp knives and electrical appliances. She has brought out as much of England as she could carry. So much, in fact, the Swazi staff, in their lace-up shoes, beige tunics and mop caps, look like foreigners in their own country. "You're African?" Mrs. Johnston glances at Koliwe, then begins slicing carrots urgently. "English, actually." "African," announces the Colonel abruptly. "So am I." Yet he, too, speaks with a British accent. Venetian blinds screen the glass door to the backyard. Koliwe squints between the slats to flittering duets of butterflies before a corrugated iron shack shaded by banana trees. A maid washes clothes in a metal bowl. Her dress is patched. Strings of garish glass beads hang into the grey water. Palm tree fronds bow and beckon, casting afternoon shadows over her back. A rash of liver spots pattern Mrs. Johnston's wrinkled face. Her thinning lavender blue hair is piled high in a nest on top of her head. She examines the canapes. "We don't see God's creatures in terms of black and white. We simply see God's creatures," she says primly, garnishing prawns with lemon and parsley. "Blackie!" she shrieks. "Get out!" Koliwe jumps as a Labrador slinks around the kitchen door. Blackie is undeniably black. A nervous friction moves in the air.
As I walk down the hill towards the bus stop, I wonder what my mum will be like when I get home. I hope it's a good day. It isn't. I see the commotion outside the Tesco Express as I'm still on the bus. See my mum's head bobbing in the middle of it. Some of the passengers on the bus see her too and almost crush their faces against the windows to look. I wonder if they will notice the similarity in our noses and realise she's my mother. I turn my face the other way and will the traffic to move. "Get off me!" Her voice is high and travels through the open windows, prodding me. Embarrassment grows like a ripening fruit in my stomach. I feel it pushing against my belly, making my skirt feel tight and uncomfortable. I shuffle, elbowing the lady beside me. "Sorry," I say. She blinks twice, doesn't reply. The traffic starts to move. "But I'm hungry!" That's my mum. I peek in her direction. There are too many people surrounding her now. I can't see her face. The bus turns the corner, then pulls up at the stop I'm supposed to get off at. Its doors open and people get on and off, but I do nothing. The lady beside me gets up and takes the now vacant seat in front of me. She pulls a crumpled newspaper from her bag and turns to the Sudoku page. All of the puzzles attempted, but not yet complete. A heavy lady with thick penciled eyebrows and her long dreadlocks wrapped in a big colourful scarf gets on. Her arms laden with the plain carrier bags you get from a West Indian greengrocer. She sighs loudly as she collapses in the seat next to me. She places the bags by our feet. Her body cream is strong, sickly sweet like marzipan. "Smoked salmon? That would be wild," says an American man on the phone. He stands by the doors, holds on to a pole. The lady with the Sudoku takes the pen which is pursed between her lips and writes a 5 in one of the empty boxes. Her 5 is small, so the box around it vast and empty, like a lone item in a suitcase. A useless item, however, as I can tell already it should have been a 4. I watch the last person board, a tall black girl with vitiligo that sweeps across her mouth and left cheek like a flash flood. She holds her head defiantly straight, as though before she left home her mother told her she was magnificent and to hold her head high. She sees me looking at her. She bumps into the American man, no longer on his phone and bobbing his head to the music in his earphones. She mutters sorry, I guess to him, but she's looking at me. She goes to the back of the bus, her head a little less straight, her mother's words a little less true. I hear the rumble of the bus's engine as it prepares to move off, and the faint ticking of its indicators. A part of me wants to stay on and ride past like my mum has nothing to do with me, my head held defiantly straight. I almost do, but at the last second I push past the lady beside me, kicking over her bag of yam and sweet potatoes. They thud and roll towards the front of the bus. I stretch, press the emergency release button at the top of the door. The lady shouts after me as I fly through them. I glance back at the bus as it drives off. The lady with the dreadlocks is bent over, a yam clasped beneath her armpit, chasing her rolling potatoes. Thank you.
I glance up from time to time, twisting the folded pink napkins on the table around my fingers. Amal's never late, and she hasn't texted me either. I wonder if she's okay. I lean back in my seat and take in the scent of vanilla and hot melting chocolate which fills the air as a waiter in all black with a pink logo at the center of her t-shirt to match her bubblegum pink wig sweeps past my table, balancing the tray in each hand. 2 hijabi girls take up the table, 2 away from mine. They're speaking in hushed tones, eyes on each other. When they glance my way with smiles on their faces, I immediately lower my gaze. It's weird, but whenever I see someone my age with the hijab, except Ma, of course, Mom's voice rings in my head. It feels like they're watching me in the same judgmental manner, though there's no way they'll know I'm Muslim. I should speak to them or say salam or something, but my words stay stuck in my throat. I can never muster the courage to speak to strangers unless they approach me, and even then it's like my tongue is twisted. I barely spoke to anyone back in high school besides Amal. Until this day, I don't know how I would have survived without her. When I raise my head again, the hijabi girls are at the entrance. I guess they're not staying after all. And I spot a neon pink hijab through the window bobbing towards them. It's a mount, and I know this because my girl loves her bright hijabs. In her words, she likes to be seen. Though I tell her even if her hijab matched the colour of her skin, she would still be seen. Hijabs scream, I'm a Muslim girl, see me, notice me. But I guess for her it's not a big deal. I'm certain she's got on her white Air Forces with a pink tick to match. That's as far as her fashion goes. She says salam to them, they respond to her greeting, and even wave goodbye like old friends. That's the beauty of being visibly Muslim, and I guess also the good side of being seen. You immediately connect with others like you. But I wonder if it's worth the attention and judgment that comes with it. From the entrance of the cafe, I see Amal's face shining, evidence of a love for shea butter as the optimal moisturizer. And the glow gets brighter when the light hits her face. My chest tightens from how much she looks like Babu. She's a carbon copy of him. The same bronze skin tone, slightly wide forehead, full lips that they're almost always in a smile. As soon as our eyes meet, she quickens her pace with a wide grin, and I return her smile with one that's much wider, hoping she doesn't catch the sadness in my expression. I can't help but wonder what crosses her mind when she looks in the mirror.
Two humans, one smelling like a vat aftershave and the other like slightly soiled cotton, reached out for Dr. Cappuccino's head. They recoiled once he began to growl. The place of all the smells was too crowded now that the human with the cloth on her head had started cooking those large green beans. Dr. Cappuccino had tried one himself so he could see why. They had the soft but solid mouthfeel of a chickpea with the umami of wild garlic and slow-roasted chicken, but with way more depth and a light note of citrus. Most interesting was a distinctly bitter, numbing aftertaste that lingered on the tongue. It was a flavour like no other, and, as of other unique tastes like coffee or bitter melon, it left the eater wanting more. But oh, how Dr. Cappuccino wished the humans would eat elsewhere. He could barely get through 10 minutes of a nap before some entitled human and their energetic newborn would manhandle him without asking. With several hours left until it was time to collect the client from the place of all the pups, Dr. Cappuccino resigned from under the bench to go off on a stroll. Maybe he could find something tasty to eat. At the very least, he would be away from these crowds. He picked up the pace by the bridge and barked at the birds. Though he couldn't run for too long, Dr. Cappuccino loved to pretend that he was a gull soaring over the river, the sun on his back and the breeze in his fur. A couple of birds called back at him before moving away. Dr. Cappuccino stopped to catch his breath. He supposed you couldn't be everyone's cup of tea, but still, it would have been nice to be a seabird. Hopefully he'd be one in the next life. Dr. Cappuccino narrowly avoided being run over by one of the loud, large metal carts with the speakers. There have been an increasing number of them in the past year or so, and though all different, the ones that carried the humans with the white headbands were by far the worst. Zero manners. He trotted into a big stretch of leaf and bird and bug scents. It was different from the abandoned patch, which was far smaller and where the smell of other dogs was rarer, and had a large variety of delicious things to graze on. A few things caught his nose. A bitch who smelled delightfully of biscuits trotted by. He went up to her and nuzzled her behind to be polite, then looked up at her client with expectant eyes. No joy. Then there was the metal horse on springs. It was covered in a sweet, sour aroma. The urine of several dogs had been sprayed here for sure. Dr. Cappuccino made sure to add his own contribution before having a good hump of the neighbouring horse on springs. Last, but by no means least, there was the flower. He caught the scent wafting by on the breeze. It was subtle, it could have slipped right by Dr. Cappuccino, but there was something about it that spoke to him, and it made him feel like it spoke only to him. A note in the aroma held onto him so tight that he felt compelled to find it, like it was his duty. He found the flower in a squishy, busy area where the worms and the bugs were everywhere, and the plants were happy. After shimmying and squeezing carefully under a bush of brambles, there it was, in all of its glory.
As Najma Bibi continues shopping, Hasina's voice begins whispering in her ear like an overactive devil. Just what is it that you've got against the football, Mum? Najma Bibi knows on some level that she's being unreasonable. Hasina is right that Leicester's push for the title is a joyous occasion, an incredibly rare phenomenon, and it calls for her special brand of football-fueled misery to be put aside, however justified she believes her position to be. But she simply cannot switch off her feelings. She might have been able to keep things in perspective if it had just been that incident with those England fans that was feeding her resentment. But there have been many more incidents since then to keep the fire burning, like the great hijab deception. It all began after that stunt that Javid pulled on Hasina's 15th birthday with the Leicester City top. Najma Bibi decided that if Javid was going to pull Hasina deeper into that world, then she was going to have to work even harder to get her drag Hasina out of it. So she told Javid that as Hasina had entered womanhood, it was no longer appropriate for her to be going around with a bare head, her unruly curls bouncing about and drawing attention to her from all those men and boys at the games. She didn't actually believe that Hasina was in danger of suddenly having men falling over her, because it was highly improbable that the average white male football fan was going to fall for a highly average Indian girl. But that was neither here nor there. The point was to exploit the puberty-presented opportunity for her purposes. Javid, predictably, had objected. It's one thing if you want to walk about with a cloth on your head like you're living in the past, Najma Bibi, but Hasina is British and British women don't wear headscarves. Najma Bibi tuts at the memory. What else was a stupid, brainwashed, whitewashed Anglophile going to say? So she cut out the middleman and went direct to Hasina instead. She had talked Hasina through the head covering rules, gave her a hijab, and put the fear of God into her for good measure. Remember that it's God's command, not mine, that you'll be breaking if you don't wear it, Hasina. And the consequences from him will be a lot more severe than any punishment that I could dream up for you. Najma Bibi was well aware that resorting to the hell and damnation route for getting the scarf onto Hasina's head was despicable. In the true spirit of the faith, Hasina would choose to wear it freely out of a love for God, rather than complying out of fear. But she didn't feel the least bit guilty about taking the underhanded approach, because the end would justify the means if it got football's deeply dug-in claws out of her daughter. Perhaps it served her right then that her cunning plan backfired. Maybe in pushing Hasina into wearing the hijab, she had also pushed them into deceiving her about it.
The third place entry was a story of ambitious themes and conflicted characters. The novel asked big questions about culture and international development, and actually looked at the aspects and the impact of colonialism in a small African country and the way that that colonialism is ongoing through things like international development. It's a really intriguing read. And so our third placed story prize goes to Lying Perfectly Still by Laura Fish. The writer of the second place story is very emotionally charged. It deals with challenging issues of sexuality, drugs, friendships, mother and daughter relationships, in a story that is vivid, pacey, and really a lot of emotions come up in the characters, and they will come up as you read it. And so we would like to say a lot of congratulations to our second place winner, who is Latoya Inararity for Sometimes the Sky is Blue. And finally, our first place entry was for a story that centered important aspects for young people of African and Asian descent today. But really, it wasn't only, the issues are not only for young people, adults find challenges in some of these things too. So it was really a joy to see how the writer used the characterization to express these issues. So there are issues around social media presence, issues around puberty, issues around wearing the hijab, issues around peer pressure. And this is why the judges selected as the Opportunity Center 2022 winner of the SI Leeds Literary Prize as Sawad Kamadeen for Never Enough. Sawad, many big congratulations for your fantastic novel from all of the judges.
I'm so honoured to be the winner of the SI Leeds Literary Prize 2022. I would like to say a huge thank you to Fiona, the judges, and everyone who's been a part of organising this prize. I would also like to say a great thank you to my family, my friends, the All Stories community, the Megaphone community, and everyone else who's been a huge part of my writing journey. Writing can be a lonely profession, and it's prizes like this and communities first to buy prizes like this that make it a little bit easier. I remember just a couple of days ago attending a panel event with my fellow shortlisted writers, and I left that event feeling rejuvenated, reminded of all of the reasons why I started writing in the first place. I look forward to everything that's going to come out of this. I look forward to meeting my fellow shortlisted writers. I look forward to forming more connections and networks with people and making a difference, hopefully with my writing. I'm excited to think about how publishing or the landscape of publishing would change in the next 2-3 years, just from the talent I've seen from the long list and the shortlist of the SI Leeds Literary Prize. Once again, I'd like to say a huge thank you to everyone who's been a part of this, and it's been an honour and a pleasure being the recipient of the prize for 2022.
Hi, I'm Terry King. I'm the president of Stroptimist International Leeds. Stroptimist International is a women's organisation which has been running for almost 100 years now. And we've been celebrating our membership of Leeds for quite a long time. And we have a number of initiatives going where we're helping women and girls improve their lives and make a difference in their lives. But this literary prize is one of the things that we are particularly proud of. And it's just wonderful meeting these women and spending time in literary circles, which some of us might not actually do. I'm delighted to announce that the winner of Reader's Choice this year is Lying Perfectly Still by Laura Fish. A fantastic story of a child of 2 countries, 2 cultures, 2 continents, struggling to find her place in either of those worlds. And it's just a wonderful, colourful and very empathic story.
Thank you so much for joining us, and please watch this space for more events to celebrate the 10th anniversary of this amazing award, including the publication in 2023 of a new anthology from Peepal Press featuring prize writers, judges and alumni. Please do follow us on social media, like and share this video, and above all, please support our writers. Thank you.